G'day everyone, my name is Zach and welcome back to Print It. When it comes to army painting, you always want to make sure that you start it off right. And doing a test model can definitely help with that. So today I'm going to be running you through the process that I go through when it comes to doing test models and give you a couple of tips and tricks on how to achieve the perfect scheme for your army at home. I would love to hear about your army projects, so make sure to leave a comment down below and share it with the rest of the community. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get straight into it. Now, I wanted to start this model off with sort of a darker skin tone than I would usually do. Now, I'm actually going to be doing this entire process by hand. And I figured that I wanted to go a little bit more detailed with this model than I usually would for a test model. Because at the end of the day, I want to know what I need to achieve a certain result. And then from there, I can either be a little bit more detailed or maybe take steps away if I want to be a little bit quicker. So just to begin with, I'm going to be going over the skin with this nice dark red. And I've actually come to love this paint. Originally, I wasn't a huge fan because I tend to start a lot of my Caucasian skin tones off with a color like Bugman's Glow, and then I shade it down. But I found that starting off with this beautiful red color is just a perfect base to really work up and give it some nice deep shadows. So it's super easy, just smack this all over the model. And when I'm doing this, I'm trying to think of ways that I could make this a little bit easier for myself. So for example, we're only painting one model today. But if you're painting multiple models, you could do these in small batches. These ogres tend to be very, very similar when it comes to both characters, infantry, and other models. So I definitely recommend, if your models are very similar, like say a Space Marine, paint all of the parts at once, and then it'll just save you a bunch of time. But for this test model, we're going to go full ballsack on it and really push the techniques. I found that blocking out colors helps me a lot when it comes to color decisions. So I started with this nice dark brown from Vallejo, and I just smacked it over all of the pants. Now, I wasn't 100% sure if I wanted to go for contrast paint with these, or if I wanted to do an actual coat of something. So for the time being, I figured I'd just do an opaque layer of this nice dark brown, just to see how it looks. Because at the end of the day, if I want to make it a nice leathery looking appearance, I can come back and do it later. But for the time being, we're just going to do this, get the color down, and make sure it looks nice and snazzy. Now, fortunately enough, I did actually have to do a couple coats on this model. As I'm working with a white base coat, this color isn't super opaque. So I think I ended up doing maybe 2 or 3 layers. Now, after doing this and realizing that I've worked with this paint, it kind of gave me an idea that I probably don't want to put this on by hand. Because even though I'm painting an ogre army, it's going to be very, very tedious, and I want to make sure that I'm doing it nice and quick and I'm not getting burnt out doing skin tones. So the first thing that I've already learned from this model is I'm probably going to have to apply this first coat with an airbrush. I feel like it'll be way quicker, way easier, and definitely help improve my hobby motivation when it comes to finishing the army. Next up, I'm just going to be blocking out all the silver colors. These initial steps are mostly just to get an idea of where I want to put certain colors, and then from there we can figure out what extra techniques we want to do to really make the model pop. So it's just a matter of just picking out anything that is in this nice silver color, and as you can see, it blocks it out really nicely. So I'm coming in with some Steel Legion Drab just to pick out these little wrist straps and everything. Now, I did actually paint the metallic parts before this, and I figured that I could just kind of paint around them, but this was a little bit of a pain in the butt, so I'm thinking that for the rest of the army, I might just paint the wraps in first, and then do the metallics after, just in case I get any mistakes on anything. I did also choose to pick out his mustache with this. It was super easy, and a little bit of his hair. Now, I'm not sure if I want to do this on all of them, because obviously I want to mix up the facial hair colors a little bit, just to give the army a nice unique look. Next up, I decided to paint his little belly thing red, so I just grabbed the same color as the skin tone and just chucked it down as a base coat. Now, I'm not sure if we'll do this on the rest of the army. I might just pick out different pieces here and there and then go from there. Now, we're going to be using wildwood on all of the parts that I do actually want to be wood. I absolutely adore this color, and it is my favorite way to paint anything that is wood. For one of our last base coats, we're just going to be chucking some Mechanicus Standard Grey over all of the stone areas. And as you can see, it's actually coming together really nice and quickly. We've basically got all of our base coats down at this point, and short of picking out a couple more details, just cleaning up a few things, it's almost time for the highlighting stage. I did also quickly come back, and I didn't like the fact that his boots were the same color, so I figured that picking them out in a slightly different color, say like this Black Legion, was a very quick and simple way of just making them pop and giving the model a little bit more depth. Now for the fun layering parts, I'm going to be coming in with a combination of Bugman's Glow and Cadian Flesh Tone to highlight up the skin. More or less what I'm going to be doing is focusing mostly on the areas that are up above. We want to make sure that we're keeping the color in the very deep recesses that we use for our base coat. because this will give us some nice contrast and make the model pop from a distance. Because at the end of the day, we're going to be looking at these models from 5 or 6 feet away, so you don't really want to go too ham on your infantry. It's just going to be a lot of wasted time and not a massive return on investment when it comes to time. Next up, as you can see, it's given us a really nice amount of contrast on the skin. So I just ended up grabbing some Cadian flesh tone and mixing that in as a slight highlight. You can also go another step and add some pale sand for like your characters and things, but I feel like I probably won't do this on this. I'm painting chaff troops and I don't want to spend a bunch of time. So with this coat, I'm mostly focusing on roughly about 50% of the highlight area that I did before. I want this to really make the model pop and help really increase that contrast in the model. Now basically going to call the skin done there. I don't want to spend too much time fussing around with it. But an easy step that we can do next is adding shades to everything. So for this, I'm mostly going to be using Nuln Oil. But you can also differentiate your shades if you want to spend a little bit more time doing that. But for me personally, I want this to be nice and quick and easy to replicate across the army. So we're just going to slap it over basically everything. All the metallics, red parts, anything that we want to be stone. His facial hair, and his pants, just to bring them out and get those details nice and crispy. As you can see, I've shaded everything down with that Nuln Oil now. Now, I wasn't super happy with the skin, and after thinking about it for a little while, I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a wash. So just grabbing my original base coat, that nice deep red, I watered it down heavily. I'm talking roughly about maybe 50-50 to 70% water to 30% paint. You wanted this to be super, super runny. I basically just put this over all the skin areas and the deep recesses to really make them pop. And then anywhere that it was pulling a little bit too much, say like on his head there, I actually dabbed it off a little bit just so that we could keep our highlights on those upper areas. For the red parts, just to make them pop a little bit more and give a little bit more interest, I added a little touch of Mephiston red to that original base coat and just gently highlighted it up until it was a nice bright red. Super simple step and just makes the belly pop a little bit more, bringing your attention in. Now for the silver colors, I did want to make them kind of a little bit shinier. So I ended up grabbing some silver from Vallejo and just giving a highlight on everything. You mostly just want to focus on the upper areas. And I did mix this with a little bit of lead belcher as well, because I tend to find the paint is not super, super opaque. So I just want to make sure that we're getting good coverage. And it just helps blend it and make it a little bit more seamless. Last but not least, just finishing off the skin again, I couldn't help myself. I decided to come in with some Kislev flesh and just very carefully pick out the upper areas on the face. Makes them pop a little bit more and just make sure that that's our main focus on the model. Essentially, when you're painting models like this, you want to make sure that on his belly and anything lower than that is very, very dark. And as you get closer to the face and the focal point that you actually want, you want to make sure that you're making that nice and bright to really draw your attention. Last but not least, I can't remember if I actually got footage for this. If I did, you will see it right now. If not, we're going to talk about it while I do the final preview. Now, to make the snow on the base, it was literally just a mixture of bicarb soda, titanium white, and then a little bit of PVA glue for stickiness. Now, I ended up just dabbing this all over the base to create a nice little texture paste, and then also put it over the model itself. I want it to look like this guy has been trudging through the snow and it's been snowing on him, and it just helps tie everything in really nicely. And overall, for the test model, I am very, very happy with it. I think there is a few things that I might change. For example, the skin may take me a little bit too long. So I'm thinking that I might save time on that by just airbrushing the full process. Doing the dark red undertones, then doing the mid-tone and highlight all with the airbrush just to really make it pop. I feel like this will just help kind of improve my hobby motivation. And then I can just paint everything else by hand. It's super, super easy to do. And just getting that skin tone, which is mostly about 50% of all of these models, and the thing that you really want to focus on. I just want to get that done and dusted, and then I can kind of sweat the details and everything else. Overall, I'm very, very happy with how this model turned out, and I hope you guys are as well. So if you're keen to see more of this, I will have another ogre video coming up very soon. But I do want to break it up with something a little bit different, because I know it has been a little while since my last video. My apologies, life has been very busy. But I am powering through the army and hoping to get something brand new up and ready for you guys in the coming weeks. So thank you so much to everyone for watching. If you are working on a project and you still want to share and you're still watching, make sure to leave a comment down below. I really want to hear what you guys are doing, because it's very inspiring to hear all the cool things that you guys are working on at home. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and happy hobbying. Bye.